the free Wager Talk text club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text Wager Talk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on WagerTalk.com.
Welcome into First Pitch for Friday, April 30th. I am Drew Martin, joined by Dave Koken and Bryan Leonard of WagerTalk.com. Guys, both Bryan and Dave, two of the top three profit producers at WagerTalk over the last 30 days. Dave, number one in MLB this year and last year. Bryan, number one for the past 4 years. Let me put it to you this way. A lot of baseball betting knowledge on the show today. Starting off here, happy Friday to you, Dave. Welcome in, buddy.
Thanks, Drew. Baseball's been good, and I have my routine that I follow on a daily basis. And if the process works, you don't screw around with it. Winner last night with the Rangers' first five. It was a gift run that should have been a 0-0 push, but the Red Sox threw the ball all over the place on a play in the bottom of the fourth, and that got Texas a run, so I'll take that. Best bets are 8-1-2 on the season, and I have one tonight. It's a little pricier than usual. I don't normally play this level, but it's just so strong in the numbers that I felt it was justifiable. So that's up. I have a free play that I'll also use as the best bet here on the show, and if you want to watch the video on that, it's on my homepage right now, wt.buzz/DC.
All right, and guys, next up, we got Bryan Leonard. Bryan, welcome in, buddy.
Hey, it's good to be back. Missed you guys. It's been a few days, but excited to talk some more baseball.
Absolutely, Bryan. Let's get into it. We got first game up here, guys. We got a couple 7 o'clock games talking about Eastern time here, 8 o'clock, and then a nightcap near 10 o'clock Eastern. So good baseball slate, big baseball slate for the Friday, April 30th card. Guys, starting off in the NL East, we get the Washington Nationals and the Miami Marlins in our nation's capital. Pablo Lopez and the ageless one, Jon Lester. If you weren't paying attention here, yes, Jon Lester's now on the Nationals. He's off of the COVID-19 list here, Dave, and it looks like the Nationals actually the underdog. We're seeing the Marlins mostly minus 130 in the marketplace. Looks like a total of 8 in Washington, D.C. Interested in get involved with the fish in the Nats tonight.
No, I'm not. I don't know what to make of Jon Lester because he hasn't pitched at all, so I would assume he's not going to go real deep into the game. Maybe 60 pitches? I have not seen an announcement on pitch count, but I would assume that he'll be a limited duty, so you're looking at 3 or 4 innings. And Pablo Lopez has been very good for the Marlins. Better at home than on the road. The problem is, look what's happened with the line. Now that Lester's been announced, they're betting Miami like the game's over. It's in excess of 130 just about every place. And that's a little interesting to me because the Marlins are really short-handed right now. They've got a bunch of players that are injured, position players. Where's their offense going to come from? I can't, I understand that why the move is being made because it's a pro-Lopez market and an anti-Lester market. And I don't disagree with the anti-Lester sentiments because he hasn't pitched at all. And let's face it, he's in the twilight of his career at this point, and I'm not sure the return you're going to get on him. I think the one game where I want to play Lester this year is when he goes to Wrigley Field and pitches against the Cubs. You might have a little motivation for that one. But I can't really recommend laying this kind of a price with the Marlins, given their lineup inadequacies right now. And not knowing what to make of Lester, I can't make a recommendation on the total either. So sorry to give you nothing on the game, but sometimes nothing is all there is.
No, I got you, Dave. And Bryan, coming to you here with the first game, Dave makes some good points. This is a Marlins team where their second baseman, they're starting third baseman, they're starting center fielder, 2 of their top 5 starting pitchers are all on the IL. Now you're having to lay minus 130 here. That is an argument to stay away from this game. You liking anything tonight in the first game, Bryan?
I feel exactly the way Dave does here. I don't trust Lester. You don't know what you're going to get. Also, I think Washington's the better team than Miami, and you're getting them as a home underdog. I love Lopez. He's a terrific pitcher, but to make him a 130 favorite here, it's a little too steep for me. Miami, we talk about the injuries they have on offense. Well, I have concerns about Miami, even when they're fully staffed on offense. That's one of the weakest offenses in Major League Baseball, and you're asking them to go on the road and beat a team who I think is a little bit better than them. I'm with Dave. This is a game for me that I'm going to sit out. If anybody's interested in fading Lester, you're probably better off doing it in the first 5. But yeah, I'm not going to be involved in this game, unfortunately.
All right, fair enough, Brian. Coming back to you for the second game here, we get the Houston Astros and the Tampa Bay Rays. McCullers and Yarborough going at it. Looks like Houston now minus 125 favorites here, Brian, with a total of 7.5 in the Trop. Do you like this one, Astros and Rays tonight, Brian?
I do a little bit. Houston it's amazing for Houston. Normally, you see a teams play. In fact, I think it was in Milwaukee. They just played their first game of the season against a lefty just a couple of days ago. Houston's actually played more games against lefty starters than they have against righties. 14 games against lefties, 11 versus righties. I believe that gives Houston a little bit of an advantage here. Yarborough's one of those guys. He's not going to dazzle you with his stats. He's not a huge strikeout guy, but he doesn't walk anybody. And if you go back and look at his career, he's always one of the leaders in soft contact. He's also one of the leaders in keeping teams from hitting the ball hard against him. And he's right there again this year. He just is able to baffle teams. Now, when I'm looking to play him, I want him to play against a team that has a lot of young players. I think that helps. And if you take a look at this Astros lineup, basically they've got half of their lineup out. 2/3 of their outfielder are young guys. They've got young guys playing in the infield. It's a team for myself that Houston's not fully back to where they should be either at this point. So I think Houston's a little bit overrated here. I do like Tampa a little bit. And it's just a situation for me that Houston going on the road after a decent, an 8-game homestand against Seattle and the Angels. Tampa is one of those teams that I really expect to get better as the season goes on. And then they brought up 2 of their better pitching prospects. And, was it yesterday that they put them back to back? I hope they don't do that. I hope they let both guys pitch as starters and go as long as they can. I think they will. But this is Tampa Bay's team right now where I don't like to go against this pitching staff. They're very good. Even the guys, like I said, Yarborough, who's not going to dazzle you with his stuff, keeps the offenses off balance. I think there's value here on Tampa. I probably won't get involved, but it's a situation for me where there's a couple other games I prefer better than that.
Fair enough, Brian. And Dave, interested in your point here, because I kind of see it a little bit different than Brian does. Respect Brian's handicap a lot, but the fact that Ryan Yarborough, he kind of went into back-to-back long relief performances, but as a starter, he really struggled. In Houston, they're getting some of their guys back. I mean, Altuve's back in the lineup, Brantley, Bregman, Gurriel. So I almost look at it as the Astros as a buy low opportunity here at just $1.25 favorites. Interested in your opinion, though, here in the Trop tonight.
Well, I agree with Brian's assessment overall on the Astros. I felt they were a bit overrated coming into the season, and I played 4 over and under season win props, and one of them was the Astros under. Not that I think they're going to be a bad team, but I didn't think they were going to be a 90-win team. And, well, so far, that looks okay. They're only, I think, 1 game over 500, so they're not exactly sizzling. And I kind of think that's what they're going to be much of the season. McCullers is solid. Okay, he's not great, but he's solid. His numbers are pretty good. Not sensational. ERA is 4.58. The way I calculate ERA, I average out 4 different analytics stats, and that's a pretty true ERA. I have him at 4.2. I've got Yarborough a little better than that. Now, you mentioned, and you made a good point, Drew, he did not fare well as a starter early in the season, but has gotten himself straightened out in bullpen appearances. And Yarborough seems to be a guy you can use in whatever role Kevin Cash wants to use him in. He can start him. He can relieve him. He's just a versatile guy. The positive stuff on the Astros, they've been very good in terms of WRC plus on the road against lefties. And they faced their share of lefties, as Bryan mentioned. It's a big 144 WRC plus on the road against lefties. That's really good. And Tampa Bay is actually below average on the road against, at home against righties. Overall, home and road, Astros a little above average on the road. Rays just about average offensively at home. So the offensive edges do belong to the Houston side. But on my grades, I give a slight edge to Yarbrough over McCullers and the Tampa pitching staff over the Houston staff. One note, I don't think Castillo's available tonight to close for Tampa if it's close late. I think he's pitched the last 3 days, so he probably won't go here. But they could plug somebody else in, Ryan Thompson or one of those guys. In fact, I hope it's Ryan Thompson because I picked him up in my fantasy baseball league over the weekend for a couple of bucks. I lean Rays here. It didn't make my card, so it's strictly a lean.
All right, good stuff, guys. We got 2 more games. Best bets at the end. Huge shout out to the chat box here. Abel, Brandon, Alex, Paco, Healy, all in the house. Thanks for joining us live. If you're liking the content, please smash the like button, guys. Next game up, we're heading to the AL Central. We got the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago White Sox. We're seeing the Indians now minus 140, minus 145 favorites here, Dave. We got Bieber on the hill for the Indians. Big reason why versus Dallas Keuchel, the lefty going for the White Sox. You know, the White Sox lineup, a little bit banged up, but they're still hitting the ball pretty good here, Dave. Do you think there's a shot at the underdog here, getting a big plus price with the Sox, or you think the starter in Bieber is the side here with the Indians, Dave?
Well, look, he's just dominant. I mean, these numbers are just great. So it's on the pitching side, it's a mismatch. Keuchel has not been particularly effective so far this season, and it's a gigantic edge for Cleveland. The problem, and this is what makes the game so tough to bet, is the offensive differentials. The Indians' offense stinks. It's just no good. It's not good at anything. It's not good overall. WRC plus is no good. 88 for the season, 87 over the last 7 days. And the White Sox are killing the baseball. Their last 7-day WRC plus is 147. Now, granted, they faced some shoddy pitching there, and they're not going to have that kind of offensive explosion against Biebers. But this is one of those games where on the pitching alone, sure, you can make a great case for Bieber. He absolutely dominates Keuchel. But you do have to factor in team stuff as well. And the team stuff favors the White Sox. That amounts to a no play for me at a price like this. As much as I like Bieber, not laying 135 or 140 in that range. He's being priced accordingly by the market, and they've sucked any value out of it to me. If I had to bet the game, I'd still bet Bieber first 5, but there's better options out there tonight, one of which I'll talk about in a little bit.
And Bryan, coming to you next, man. I mean, we got Jeff Style in the chat box saying it's a great matchup, a good handicap as well. It's a tricky handicap though. I mean, the White Sox plus 31 run differential. Like Dave talked about, I mean, this offense is something that needs to be recognized, but the pitching matchup is so heavily favored towards the Indians is what makes it such a tricky handicap here, Bryan.
Yeah, it definitely is. And being a Cleveland Indians fan, I see that a lot over the years, is the offense just isn't doing anything. Dave mentioned the differentials in WRC plus on the season. Overall, Cleveland's an 89, which is 11% below league average. The White Sox number 1. 122, 22% better than league average. The problem I have is Bieber is being overpriced in my regard here. Usually if a pitcher has a really good start against the opposition and he comes back rather closely, I'd like to go against him. But it's been, excuse me, it's been 17 days since he had that really great start against the White Sox, 11 strikeouts, 1 walk, 91 game score, complete game against Chicago. That was the game where he had the battle with the other ace for the White Sox, Giolito. And that was that was probably my favorite baseball game of the season. Two aces going together, and they were just fighting each other all the way through. It was just a great game. But Keuchel's always seemed to have the number of the Cleveland Indians. His last 5 against them, a 54 average game score, 3.48 ERA. He's one of the guys that talk about, keeping people off balance. And the Indians seem to be much better against teams that have a starter out there that throws a nice fastball and is dominating in that regard. The Indians seem to hit them a little bit better than they do more of the junk ball pitchers. And Keuchel had the one start against him. He had a 49-game score, 5 innings, 3 earned runs. His strikeouts are really down. He doesn't strike anybody out anymore. In fact, this year, 12 strikeouts, 7 walks, but he's given up 3 home runs in 25 innings. Now, last year, he only gave up 2 in 63. So he's a guy that doesn't give up a lot of home runs. So he's had a little bit of batted ball, bad luck in that regard. Cleveland 7-5 against righties on the season, but only 4-7 against lefties. I prefer Chicago here. I just talked about in the last game or a couple games ago where I like to have the better team being an underdog, and they're a home underdog, and they're the better team. There's no doubt in my mind that Cleveland's not making the playoffs. They just don't have enough hitting. And the White Sox are going to fight it out with Minnesota all season long. And if you're going to give me the better team at home in this price range, I'll have to take Chicago.
I just want to drop something in as far as the Indians are concerned. And that's despite the pitching, which is so good. And I think their bullpen's okay. I think their staff is fine. But they've got a few guys who are almost automatic outs. Jake Bauers, who won't play tonight because they're facing a lefty. But Jake Bauers doesn't look to me to be a major leaguer. He can't hit. Naylor can hit a little bit, but he's just an absolute horror show defensively. And that, to me, is a guy you don't want on a team that has to win with pitching. You can't have a guy who's that bad defensively because run prevention is what it's all about. Maybe they can get away with him at first base, but anything hit to right field is an absolute adventure with Naylor. Even Nelson Cruz got a triple on him the other day, and believe me, it would have been a nice catch, but a real good right fielder makes that catch. He looked like a little leaguer. They've just got, and the shortstop, Jimenez, has been a flop so far. They expected him to step forward and do some good things. Maybe they wouldn't miss Lindor that much. He has not been good. It's just a really bad offense. And basically outside of Franmil Reyes and Jose Ramirez, there's just not a lot to like offensively. I just can't see them sticking around as a playoff team. And I think they're going to be selling at the deadline like they usually do.
Yeah, all good points there, Dave. Guys, we got one game left, and then best bets at the end. Baltimore Orioles, Oakland A's up next. Dave, we'll start off with you here with the nightcap, 9:40 Pacific Eastern here. Looks like 55 degrees. Light winds out to center field in Oakland. Total of 8, -130 here. The A's. It's Friars versus John Means, the lefty, going for the Orioles. Good matchup here, Dave. One of my favorite games on the card tonight.
I don't know if it's a good matchup or not. I'm going to write myself a reminder that when the games are sent out that we're going to talk about, to maybe input some opinions, because I would not have chosen the Miami-Washington game because we haven't seen anything of Lester, and I would not have chosen this game because we haven't seen Mike Fiers at all. It's his first appearance, and that means I don't know how long he's going. I don't know if there's a rust factor. I just don't know anything about Fiers at this point. To me, we're already deep enough into this 2021 season where we no longer have to look at 2020 stuff. But with Fiers, that's all you can do. And I can't make a judgment on that. So, I mean, all I can tell you is John Means is pitching really good baseball. But the Orioles, coming off a very exciting series with the Yankees, they pull out an extra inning win yesterday and now have to travel cross country. It's not a good scheduling spot for Baltimore. I don't know what to say. Again, I'll take the blame for this because I saw the games last night, and I should have said let's not talk about games where we don't have any information on pitchers. But it's too late now. I would not go against Means because he's pitching really good baseball, but you're not really getting much of a price here considering it's the Orioles on the road. I can't play it. Maybe Bryan's got something.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of value here. I agree with Dave. Without any information from Fires, it is a concern, but he's had a lot of success against Baltimore in his career. His last 5 starts, a 64 game score, 1.93 ERA. And as I talked about earlier, these junk ball pitchers, when they're facing younger players, they have a lot of success. And Baltimore, say what you will about Baltimore, but there's not a lot of veterans on this Baltimore team. There are a lot of young guys here. So I don't know how long Fires is going to go, but I think there's going to be some value there if he comes out with anything like he's normally had. The first 5 under looks like a nice bet for me. John Means on the season, 1.50 ERA. Dave talked about him. He's just been tremendous. Game scores 80, 48, 48, 78, 68. He's going to have some success against this Oakland team here. And it's a situation for myself where I would much prefer to play on the first 5 under than I would to play anything else in this game because, as Dave pointed out, Baltimore, a long trip all the way out to Oakland, and you've got a pitcher going in there right now that's had a lot of success against them, but we don't know how long Fires is going to go. If he goes 4, that's probably not a bad start, and I'll take that with the first 5 under, and that's the way I'm looking at this one.
All right, good stuff there, Brian. Guys, sorry for the technical difficulty there. We'll say the Orioles, a little bit better bullpen here, although do note that Valdez has gone back-to-back days, so his availability for the Orioles in the later innings is in question. Guys, we got best bets coming up. First, an Asian baseball quick pick here from Tokyo Brandon. So, Tokyo Brandon, take it away.
Tokyo Brandon here with another Asian baseball quick pick. Last night, Yakult took care of business, got us to 7 wins and 3 losses on these quick pick videos, and tonight we're going to the KBO. The Kiwoom Heroes are visiting the NC Dinos. Wesley Parsons takes the mound for NC. Right now, I have him ranked the best pitcher in Korea, where Kim Jong-in takes the mound for Kiwoom. Kiwoom right now is ranked 9 out of 10 in hitting, and Kim Jong-in currently has a career ERA of over 7. I'm going to take the NC Dinos on the first 5 innings run line. The best pitcher in Korea with the best lineup in Korea, but I don't trust their bullpen. NC Dinos. That's the pick today. Thanks, guys.
NC Dinos, they were covering some spreads last year. I remember that with KBO. So Tokyo Brandon liking the Dinos tonight. Guys, time for best bets. We'll start off here with Dave Koking. Make sure to check him out, guys. WagerTalk.com, #1 in MLB this year, #1 in MLB last season as well. A lot of good specials there for Dave. So Dave, where are you going for best bets tonight for the show, buddy?
Yeah, and again, a best bet up tonight, 8-1-2 on those so far this season. This one's a little heavier favorite than I normally will play, but it just fit right across the board, and I was therefore willing to do that on the best bet. The other game I played tonight is the Cubs-Reds matchup with Jake Arrieta and Wade Miley. I did a video on this if you want to watch more of it, but I'll basically give you all that I've got on the game here. On the pitching, pretty close. But a slight edge to Miley on the 2021 stuff. And actually, Arrieta wasn't very good last year. So if you want to go back to last year, that would also fit. But I do give Miley an edge. It's the team stuff that really defines this play, though. The Cubs have been a very poor road team offensively. And the Reds have been a dominant offensive team at home. Their offensive, we talk about WRC plus. That's a stat that Bryan and myself both like that metric because it's a really, I think, revealing stat as far as a team's offense is concerned. The Reds' offense at home has a 140 WRC plus for the season. That is enormous. If you break it down, it's even better against righties. 147 at home against righties. Those are tremendous stats. And to me, when you factor in that, along with the fact that Miley does have the better numbers than Arrieta, particularly first 2 times through the lineup, which is a key in first 5 selections. I think -130 is pretty reasonable here for the first 5 innings. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Reds to win the first 5 for the best bet here on the show.
Reds in the first 5 from Dave Koch and Brian Leonard. Next up here, where are you going for best bets tonight, buddy?
A couple things before we get started. I love having Brandon on these videos because we get to see jerseys from other countries.
Yeah, I know it.
The only bad part is, and I loved his Swallows jersey he had on, was it yesterday or whatever? But they don't make American sizes in Korea, in Japan, and China. I can't get a XXX Swallows jersey if I wanted to. And that's the only concern. But I do enjoy watching him with those uniforms on. It's pretty cool. I'm a big collector in a lot of sports jerseys, so I like that. I'm going to take a look at Kansas City and Minnesota, do a little contrarian type of bet here. Dave talked about Cincinnati. Cincinnati really got off to a hot start earlier in the season. They're starting to come down a little bit. At one point, they were number one in WRC Plus. I believe they're 7 now. And we're seeing the same thing out of Kansas City and Minnesota. Kansas City's now 14th with an average of 96, which is 4% below league average. Minnesota's actually above league average now at 103. So the Minnesota offense is starting to come through a little bit. Scored 17 runs against that pretty good Cleveland starting staff, although yesterday's starter, Logan Allen, didn't perform very well, and he may not be back up in the majors the rest of the season if he continues to struggle like that. But I'm a big believer in looking at things coming back to the norm. And one of those things I look at is extra inning games and one-run games. Those are a lot of coin flip type of situations. Unless you've really got a dominant closer who's out there, your Mariano Rivera type of thing, you're going to win those type of games. But on the season, Minnesota's 0-5 in extra inning games, 2-6 in one-run games. Kansas City 1-0 in extra inning games, 6-1 in one-run games. So if you even that out a little bit, you could see why Minnesota is the favorite here. And I agree. As much as I like Brady Singer, he's coming off of his best start of the season, and Michael Pineda is coming off his worst start of the season. And if you were to give me these two heads up when they're healthy, as much as I like Brady Singer, Michael Pineda, when he's healthy, he's just terrific. And so we're getting the better hitting team in Minnesota, which I still consider a chance to win this division. I'm going to go out and look for division odds on Minnesota after we are done here. And hopefully I could get a good price on Minnesota to win this division. But I think we've got the better team at home in a situation where they're starting to hit now. And I think the line's a little bit cheap with the Minnesota Twins.
I have a question for Bryan. And this isn't, I'm not playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
I basically agree with everything you said, but the one thing that really troubles me is that Kansas City appears to have found themselves a guy who's pretty good at the end of games in Stomont, who I wish the hell I'd have grabbed in our fantasy league.
I have him.
Yeah, I know. And Minnesota's bullpen it's a problem right now. They have no idea who to finish up a game with. Colomé has been removed from the closer role. I'm not sure how much I trust the left-hander, whose name escapes me, the side-arming lefty. So why? See, when I would look at what you said, and I agree with it, but I would look first 5 because I don't want to mess around with what I think is a bad bullpen right now in Minnesota and an improving bullpen in Kansas City. So there's my devil's advocate question for you.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that at all. Although I'm in agreement on the bullpen for Minnesota, but Colomé, I think his closing days are done.
Yeah.
And that's something that he's been so bad. They even tried him last couple games in situations where he doesn't even need to be in there. But I like the closer. I like Taylor Rogers for a righty for Minnesota. He's their closer now. And I think he's dominant. He was dominant last year. He should have been the closer all season long. And yes, Dave, I do have him on my fantasy team. I've got both of the guys. So I hope it's a close game tonight. You're going to get a save out of it. But yeah, I have no problem playing the first 5 innings. I just think when you've got the better hitting team, I like to play them longer. But you're right. The middle relievers for the Twins have not done well, but I'm hoping that they'll get a good 6 innings out of Pineda tonight.
Maybe you guys can work out a trade here. Dave's looking for a closer. Right?
No, I've got the Oakland guy who I picked up cheap, and he has now inherited the closing job out there. And I think we both wish we had Ian Kennedy, though. Holy Jesus, where did that come from? It's just we talk. I know we're dragging here, but this is Ian Kennedy's the perfect example of a guy who had become a failed starting pitcher. was pretty good years back, but he was done as a starter. And now he's in one-inning stints. He's throwing the ball 96 miles an hour. He's putting it exactly where it wants. He has been absolutely dominant for the Rangers, closing games. That's it. Bullpens are a strange breed, that's for sure.
Same thing happened in Seattle with Grossman. I picked Grossman, and nobody. It was crickets. Nobody else wanted Grossman, or Graveman. Yeah, nobody else wanted Graveman. I'm thinking, oh man, this guy has great stuff, and now he's a reliever, and it's working out well. So that's why Dave and I do so well in these tournaments or these fantasy baseball leagues, because we know the players, and nobody's better at picking up the young players as Dave. I always like to pick his brain about the young guys coming up from the minors.
Well, yeah, and just very quickly, in both leagues that Bryan and myself are in, and I'm only in those 2 leagues, I drafted Jack Leiter in the reserve draft. He's still in college. I'm gonna own him regardless of where he ends up signing.
You taking LeBron James' son for your NBA draft?
I don't do anything with the NBA.
I don't do NBA either.
Dave, is there real quickly? Is there like websites you go to see like the next guy coming up for fantasy baseball guys out there that you recommend?
I'm a prospect guy. I've been a Baseball America reader going back a long ways. I was subscribing to that newspaper when they had like 20 subscribers, I think. It's grown a bit since then. And I get the yearbooks, the prospect handbooks. It's not just for fantasy baseball. I love the game, and I like to know about the guys on their way up. Not just the top prospects. I want the middling prospects as well. It's good information to have, and for a seam head like myself, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, just go out and subscribe for, I think it's $60 a year for The Athletic. They are devoting a lot of information towards sports betting now, and also fantasy baseball. And I spend 2 hours a day reading their articles on there. It's just tremendous stuff.
Good stuff, guys. Thanks for that.
Very quick. Yeah. On Baseball America, I've been getting the paper. I get the online now. I don't have the print version anymore because it's 2021. But I used to carry the newspaper around with me whenever I go out for dinner or something like that, and I'd have the latest copy of Baseball America with me. And I literally had baseball players come up to me and say, "What's that?" They didn't know about it. And it's like, oh, holy shit! They didn't know there was a paper that was devoted mostly to minor league baseball and prospects, and maybe I helped them grow their subscription base.
Good stuff, David. Guys, talking about later innings here, and guys, good bullpens. For my best bet, heading to the first game we talked about, Miami Marlins, Washington Nationals, and where I was going with that was Floro and Yimi as an 8-9 combination, guys. I think it's one of the more sleeper 8-9 combinations from a bullpen in MLB right now. My numbers show the Marlins actually is a top 5 bullpen in current form, and they're going up against John Lester. A COVID fade in college basketball was absolutely money this season. Using it again in MLB, we'll see how it fares. As I like the Fish as minus 132 favorites now. They were under that minus 130 mark, but like Dave talked about earlier, a lot of this is getting bid up here, and the Fish are now minus 132 favorites. Pablo Lopez on the hill, 32 Ks, 8 walks on the season, had that one bad start against the Braves. Other than that, he's been absolutely money this season. So I'm going with the Fish. Yes, they're banged up, but actually they've scored 18 runs in the last 3 games. So the new guys they're slotting into the lineup are hot right now. Going to ride the hot hand with the Miami Marlins, minus 132 favorites here. So guys, that does it for the show. We got recap on best bets. I'm on the Fish, minus 129. Looks to be about minus 132 now. Reds, first 5. Dave Koken, minus 130. Brian Leonard, Twins, minus 138. Tokyo Brandon, NC Dino's first 5 innings, minus the half of run. For Brian Leonard, Dave Koken, I am Drew Martin. Guys, please smash the like button if you're liking the content. Feel free to comment below if you're watching on replay. Huge shout out to the chat box, like always. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Friday, guys. We'll be back on Monday. Same time, same place. Be safe this weekend and cash those bets.
Are you tired of games of the year and 100-unit locks? If so, check out the professional handicappers at WagerTalk.com today. We leave all that nonsense for the other guys. And for a limited time, new users get their first daily picks purchased up to $40 for only $1. $1? Whose idea was that? Johnny Detroit? I guess so. To redeem this special, just go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper and their picks package using coupon code TRYWagerTalk when checking out.